Well, welcome back
to the Aftershow. I'm still Alex.
I am still Levi. After the show.
After the show, the Flame of Tar Valon.
Tar Valon. I hate it. I hate it. It's Tar Valon.
Yeah, I always thought of Valon.
I don't know. You don't have to say things out loud when you read, but Valon is annoying. That's like, I'm going to New York, hey. Like, over and over. No. Just like Moiraine, I know there's an I in the name, I'm not saying Moiraine.
Yeah.
Moiraine. It's awful.
I don't know.
But the episode was not awful.
No, not in the least. I've been waiting for Aes Sedai politics, and we got some Aes Sedai politics.
For like several episodes now, I'm like, the next one's going to be the Aes Sedai politics. And bam, and God, Moiraine and Siuan's relationship changed everything. It's just, God, it's another example of how like they do justice to the tradition of Wheel of Time, and they also condense it and intensify it in a way that like, you know, like it's still true to the source material, but it's its own thing and works so well in this format.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, Game of Thrones did a similar thing where God, now I'm forgetting the character's name, so it invalidates the point. But they did a similar thing where it was just like a background trait of a character, like kind of, you know, like heavily implied he was gay, and then they were just like, were flat out with it.
Oh, yeah, the the Knight of Flowers?
I think that was the guy, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Because, so a little background of time, Moiraine and Siuan definitely were colluding, but they were not lovers. And they were not close in the same way that we're seeing here, but it's such a, like, easy, like, 1-2 of, like, you know, like, punish in public, like, freak in the sheets kind of thing. Like, you know, to just... Yeah, to give her...
The troubles of working with your girlfriend who will not recognize you as the boss.
Right, like basically Moiraine has the nuclear option. Like, I can do whatever the fuck I want because, like, I am, like, having sex with
I'm sleeping with the magic president.
Yeah, and things were, you know, more nuanced and harder to negotiate in the books, but it gets the fucking job done.
Oh, yeah, it does. And it's great because, like, I've been saying, like, you know, in the background, those ladies shack up, and now we see that.
Yeah.
We see that excellently.
Yes. So, going right to best moments of the episode, I feel like we're going to both agree what the best fucking line was.
Yes.
All right, on three. One, two, three.
Siuan Sanchi. Oh.
Okay.
Okay, mine was Siuan Sanchi waits on one woman and it's not you.
Oh, fuck yeah. That is like number 2. But for me, when Moiraine says on your knees and turns it around, it's like, oh man. So good.
Both of those were just so excellent. This
good.
was the Moiraine show this episode.
Yes.
And it works. It works so hard.
Yeah, she's such a good actress and man, yeah.
And you can see her struggling as she like kind of keeps all the plates spinning to like kind of work around the, I can't lie. Oh, I have people watching for them. I will know when they arrive.
Right? And also saying, I cannot say, cannot or will not, and that you just silent. You know?
Yep.
It's like, yeah. So cool. So intense.
Yeah. And just Moiraine in general just kind of having to speed run through the tower, just like being pissed, short on time. Like, Leandrin, I don't have time for your nonsense. I know about your secret boyfriend.
Yep.
The Reds will go and murder him. Yeah. So stay out of my way.
Yeah, she's just like pulling the trump card, slapping it in your face. No time for this. I'm out.
I have the winning hand. Go home.
That's Moraine's mantra is, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
Remember, I think in episode 2, she's like, whatever, Trollocs are chasing us. You guys want to come? Fine. I don't have time for this. I'm out. Like, Tarn Fairy? No, I don't have time for this.
Yeah, and so much of the Wheel of Time is just very, like, it lingers. You know, there's always threats, but, like, there's almost...
so much time for this.
The Wheel has so much time for this, but it's almost, at times, like, reading the books, it almost feels, like, kind of cozy, because, you know, there are these world-shattering threats on the horizon, but, you know, you're spending time, you're getting to know this one village, but here it's just like, no, bam, 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 we don't have time. Moiraine has to keep us on the timetable, which is great. It works.
Yeah, speaking of which, I was really surprised that Siuan's suggestion of speedrunning, actually, can you give us an explanation of speedrunning for those who are not?
Sure. So speedrunning is a gaming term. It's basically when you beat a game very, very quickly, usually by exploiting glitches or something that's just not intended to be done. An example, there's one, a very bad game, where it's like, it's a fantasy game, you're a dude with swords, and you can just, the first thing you're supposed to do is go to town and talk to a guy. Well, surprise, that guy is actually the final boss, but they don't have the coding off him where if he dies, you win the game. So instead of talking to him, you just like attack him and bait the entire town into ganging up on him because he's marked as hostile, and they kill him for you, and you win the game in under a minute.
Holy shit.
Whereas normally the game takes 40 hours. Wow. So that's what speedrunning is.
Okay. Yeah, so I was very shocked when Swan's like, oh, we should speedrun this shit, because I remember the ending of the Eye of the World being sort of cobbled together, book 1, and not really what I expected. And here I'm like, no. And then, yep, that's what we're doing. Like, we all went to Tar Valon and we met back up, and that's all great. And Matt's healed. And now let's go kill the Dark One. And I totally get how, like, you got to do that for season 1 to, like, sort of, like, you have the beginning and you need an ending that matches it.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there's no fucking way that they're actually doing it, but it'll be something epic. But I was just surprised, like, in episode 6, that there, like, I thought there'd be more politics, and then, honestly, I don't know what I thought, but this feels like, it feels like you're going to try to wrap this up next episode, and I believe we have a few more episodes after this.
Yeah.
So,
I think we got the perfect amount of politics, but I think it's very believable because, there's this, and of course you're very familiar with this, Levi, or I assume the concept of the dramatic question in fiction, but just in case anyone's not, that's kind of the central problem that has to be resolved. So here, how do we defeat the Dark One? How do we save the world? Mm-hmm. And so I feel like you gotta like make the attempt, take the run at him just to show how under-equipped our cast is to address the dramatic question.
Totally, yeah. And there'll be like some victory and some heavy cost and setback, and then like season 2 will be a little bit more, okay, let's approach this in a structured way.
Yeah.
And maybe... Okay, I mean, we're getting into, like, really far-off predictions of, like, end-of-season things, but...
True.
I think we're gonna find out who the dragon is.
There's no way they can keep this going much longer.
Yeah.
Like, maybe another episode, but it's impossible to keep it going much more than that, I think.
Yeah, it's so cool how, like, they've, like, outright in this episode, like, whether it's man or woman, it's
Yeah,
like...
and then, they said 1 dragon or 5.
Yeah,
like
totally.
They hadn't raised that possibility before, and that made me go,
multiple dragons, multiple-headed
cool.
dragon,
the
Hydra. So one of my other best moments was the Oath Rod.
Yes, the Oath Rod.
To jump into Levi's tearjerker, there are 4 of them. I'll list them in order in case you're curious. But
this was my one tearjerker, the Oath Rod coming out.
I love that.
I got misty.
So in the watch-along, I said, like, God, I feel like they're breaking up and getting married at the same time.
I know. It very much felt like a wedding vow right before, Moraine has to ride off to war.
Yes, exactly. It's like, let's get married before you go to Vietnam kind of thing.
Yes!
Yeah, it's like so, like, intense and, like, or like Braveheart, like... Love right before day of extreme danger.
Do you believe love can bloom even on the battlefield?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it was public at the same time. So
although she like dropped her voice for a bit there and then got louder. May the Creator.
She did. Yeah, she said some very specific and like very appreciative, loving things about Swan. And yeah, it was so awesome how she turned it around because Swan was like the Amyrlin seat, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is going to come around to bite you!"
Oh yes.
And then she's like,
"Because we've mentioned before there are other Amyrlin seats, and
yes, they're of varying qualities.
They're of varying quality. Yes, we should leave it at that." I almost felt like that would be a Rolls in His Grave moment. Busting out the Oath Rod for a punishment like that. Like that's a little
totally.
Like it's a cool way to introduce that part of the lore. Like, the Oath Rod is literally why the Aes Sedai are bound to the 3 oaths, but it felt like a kind of clunky way to bring it in at the same time.
Yeah, and I don't think it's like we don't actually need that piece of world building, and in the book series they definitely take swearing of oaths much more strongly, and I feel like none of them ever swear oaths on the Oath Rod because you already can't lie. So if you tell an oath, you're really intending to keep it.
And they even go into the books, like there's this whole hierarchy of oaths. And the light and hope of my redemption is like the highest possible one. That's the you break that one, you're going
fired out of the pattern.
Yeah. You're dying forever, eternally.
And well, now that I say that, like, Sanderson does have some fuckery when they're like searching out like the evil sisters, where they make each other swear extra oaths and stuff.
Right.
But like, yeah, Jordan wasn't quite that into magic system fuckery. And definitely not in Eye of the World.
No.
Book
No.
one.
Right when we were just getting started.
Yeah. But yeah, I felt like those were really strong moments. I loved it when she refused her in the very beginning and like said, cannot versus will not.
And this ties into another background of time, talking about masking the bond when Lan was going on about that, because that's a thing Aes Sedai can do. You know, their warders can. Yes, that's why she did it.
Hell
and
yeah.
Lan knew
That's awesome.
because Lan said, "Say hi to her for me."
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Fuck yes. Oh, okay.
Lan
that's awesome.
knows. So
Wow.
masking the bond, like, you know, a warder can feel what the Aes Sedai, his Aes Sedai is going through. Pleasure. So Moraine was like, all right.
Getting drunk is another one.
Yeah, getting drunk is another one. Moraine was like, all right, I'm getting some tonight. Lan, you don't need to experience this.
That's awesome. Yeah, because I had no idea what he was saying when he said, give her my love. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because
he knows.
There are a couple of scenes in the book where there's a warder bond and like somebody's getting it on and the warder's like, God damn it. Or like a bunch of people are like that because there's multiple bonds. Yeah. They're like, let's go have a drink or something. I can't handle this. And in the background, they're like, you know, feeling the orgasms of these people, which is like as sexually spicy as Jordan ever gets.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's a weird, fun kind of sexually spicy.
Yeah,
it's very like unique. Like, you bring this in and you don't think about it until you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And like, you know.
That's actually very intimate knowledge.
Think of the implications, you know. The Greens with their multiple warders.
Oh, yeah.
Think of the implications.
Right, Olenna and her two dudes who are into each other and also probably into her.
Yep.
Yeah, they got some bondage.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. Well, since I mentioned it, I had 4 cry moments. We're starting a new episode of When Did Levi Cry? The weep along of time. So we
weep along of time. That's great.
Just spun it out of my brain. First one was when Swan leaves her daddy-o. That was very sad. Mm-hmm. Got me the tear jerking, even if all the lighting in his face was 1970s for some reason. When Moraine refuses Swan in the hall, that's just like so intense that it was like not sad, but just like, oh, this is so intense, I gotta cry. Nynaeve and Egwene when they see each other again, that was very wonderful. And then Moraine's oath, like we said.
Yeah.
Just like, those were tear jerking. And I actually feel like 4 is on the lower side for me. I feel like I was having some like 6 and 7 tear jerk moments in the earlier episodes. Politics are like not as tear jerking to me.
Fair. I don't know. I always appreciate when politics is done like well or at least interestingly because I feel like growing up, the best example I had was like the Star Wars prequels with the Galactic Senate, and those are all awful.
Yes, very awful. Yeah.
So it's this childhood trauma where I'm like, competent politics, thank you.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's very much been a point of interest for me for most of my life. Mm-hmm. But in fiction, sometimes it can be real boring, and real politics is sometimes real boring, which is fair.
Yeah, as a writer, like in Book 1 of the Tidecaller Chronicles, Daughter of Flood and Fury, there's like 3 or 4 chapters where it's just politics, and you write it, and you're just like, the whole time you're like, God, is this so boring? Like, I need this for the context and for the characters to make sense and for like the big plot thing to happen. But like, they're just fucking sitting around and talking and like threatening without fighting.
Well, now you know, you just need a secret lesbian relationship between 2 of the people at the bargaining table.
That was the key I was missing. The secret lesbian relationship. I totally have like my version of Aes Sedai actually that could be having. Okay, all right, maybe it's
missed opportunities.
No, I've got sequels to write. It's getting in there.
All right.
It's getting in there.
Before we ramble on Oh yes, that was all the weep along of time. Did you have your 3 words? Or
My
3 words to sum up the episode.
I think yours are better, so I'm just going to apologize. I straight up stole them from you. You said them during the watch along. Moraine's on fire.
Yeah,
because she was fucking on fire. Like, this is just Moraine crushing it. And Okay, for me personally, during Watchalong, also, I don't know why, but when she took the evil out of Matt's dagger, she was just, like, super hot in that moment. Much more so than the bath scene, where she wasn't wearing clothes. I don't know why, but...
I don't pretend to understand that. I respect it.
The ways of attraction are mysterious and wonderful.
It's true. But I mean, it's her being powerful. I respect a lady who could break me.
And all that creepy black shit on her face, it was so hot.
All right, Levi. All right. My 3 words were very similar. Secret Agent Moraine, because this is all just Moraine playing Spy Master and political, Queen Maker, because Aes Sedai.
Totally.
But that's fantastic. Like we said, I've been waiting for Aes Sedai politics, and this delivers.
Yeah, and it's just so cool, like, to see her, like, competent in her element, because, like, she's, like, really comfortable being a blue out in the world. But to see her go home and, like, crush all of her opponents and, like, have this, secret in to the Amerlin, it's just like, this is our hero. Moraine is our hero.
Yeah.
Whoever's 100%. The dragon, like, at least it's going to be really interesting to see if they can carry that through in further seasons. But at least in season 1, she is the hero, whatever. And it's just cool to see her so good at what she does.
Yeah, because it's very much kind of been an informed attribute up till now. Just like, oh, you blues are so sneaky with your secrets. Here, like, she's using those secrets. She's using every card in her hand. She's keeping secrets from the head of her Aja.
Yeah, totally.
It's phenomenal. I love it.
Yeah, so good.
And also just Swan, just not suffering fools, just having no time, even more so than Moraine. Just not having time for idiots.
Totally, and that is totally her character.
Except for Moraine, because Moraine is her idiot.
Moraine can tell her to get on her knees.
Yes. Yes, she can. We saw it.
Oh, man. I'm going to call out Leandrin as being pretty punchable this episode.
Yeah, she's pretty punchable. We used to have
the Rand's most punchable moments, and now I feel like we just have to call out the punchable person. And it's Leandrin in this one. She just, like, such a vindictive bitch.
It's true, but I love that for her. Okay. I love seeing that.
I love that she has a male lover. That's awesome. Like, that's the kind of irony that I like, and that just feels true to life. And I don't disrespect her for it at all. It's just cool that, like, Reds are kind of known as, like, dude haters, but she is a dude lover.
Yeah.
Secretly.
Fair. I still think I have to give it to Rand to being the most punchable. Like,
okay.
Moraine and Lan coming in to, like, help Matt, and he, like, pulls a sword.
Oh, yeah.
And then is like, you're welcome. When in the watch-along, I yelled, like, you have not earned that.
That's true.
And he hasn't.
Lan is such a badass. Like, Rand draws his Heron Blade sword. Lan's like, I'm not pulling a blade on you. I don't need it. Like, oh, you're coming at me? Okay, slap, bang, bang. Okay.
You're disarmed. You're down on the bed.
Yep. So awesome. Did you have any moments of Robert Jordan rolling in his grave?
I think the only one I would have was just busting out the oath rod for the punishment, quote-unquote punishment, which is... I wonder how much the other Aes Sedai realize is really not a punishment. I feel like probably most of them, since Moraine has not been back. But
yeah, I actually think they could have done this better if they had given us context for what exile means for the sisters, because, like, excommunication in the Catholic Church, big deal. Like, exile from a place you don't want to be anyway, which is kind of what everybody knows about Moraine. That's not much of a price. Yeah. So, like, they turn their back on him. We're like, ooh, that seems bad. But we don't actually know, like, does this mean shit or not? Like, they could have shown someone exiled before or talked about it.
They didn't make her hand over her ring or anything like that. So she's still able to go out in the world and, like, exercise her authority. Obviously can still channel. And
Swan can call her back whenever she wants. So, I don't know. It just feels like actually that was, like, publicly flimsy instead of, like, privately flimsy.
Yeah. It was... Yeah. I feel like the oath rod was the only thing making that, like, publicly powerful. But anyway, I talked about that some. Did you have any rolling in the grave moments? Excuse me.
I think that, well, like we said, it's just kind of a blunt object to achieve the same thing. But Moraine and Swan having a relationship is a pretty big retcon. And I think Robert Jordan, I don't know actually how he felt about, like, same-sex relationships. Because there is some hint of it in there, but I think not that aspect, but just the, like, way that changes their relationship and the politics and how the Blue Aja is functioning, I think he would not be down. Or he'd roll in his grave.
I feel like he would be fine with it for something,
Well, I mean, maybe you understand it's a TV show.
San-chan?
Okay,
Like,
San-chan, I always say, but yes.
Okay, fair. Just their whole system, those ladies?
Oh, God, I don't remember that.
Okay,
like,
fair.
Their system is annoying.
That's something that'll be coming probably multiple seasons from now.
If we get that many seasons.
I will probably have to tell you after we turn the mics off.
I'm going to say they're coming in episode 2, or in season 2, but...
That, I would be astonished. But suffice it to say, Robert Jordan, he likes some power dynamics among his ladies that like ladies.
It's true. Yeah, he does he just likes power dynamics among his ladies. They're all strong.
Yes.
They're all similar
strong.
fashion.
Very
but
strong.
The question is, who's the strongest? And,
yeah.
Okay, it gets annoying because you only have so many ideas, and when every book is 1,000 pages, you return to the ideas a few times.
A timer 18.
To their credit, not once so far in this season has Rand, Matt, or Perrin said, I just wish I knew Perrin is so good with the girls. I just wish I knew Matt's so good,
yes.
Rand's so good. I just wish. It's an awful, awful refrain after the 10th or 11th time. And it keeps going up until Sanderson.
It just becomes bits that the characters do. And
yeah.
Aside from Rand being punchable, I don't know that I can pick out any real bits so far.
Yeah.
I like that.
Did you have any backgrounds of time?
I kind of already talked about masking the bond. I did have also the steading. Yeah. This is a part of the books that I don't remember super well, so maybe you can fill in the gaps here a little more. But in brief, the steading is just where the builders or the Ogier live, like Loyal.
And used to live. Some of them are
Or
abandoned.
used to live, yes. Some are abandoned. And I think the one power works slightly differently there.
Does not work.
Does not work. Okay. And yeah, that's about all I remember from them. But that's just in brief terms. That's what that is.
And I remember the ways being mostly at places that are steadings or used to be steading. Although, no, I think they also built them like in the Ogier built cities. Like Caerhine is one of those two. It has like a ways, even though like people have forgotten about them entirely. The ways were pretty different in the books. Like they are a beautifully carved door and there's a particular leaf that you pluck off to open them. It does not require the one power at all. That's kind of a big retcon because Ogier couldn't use their own ways if they needed the one power to do it.
Right.
So I get how, like,
I wonder if they'll justify that.
Yeah,
next
I don't
episode.
know. Yeah, maybe they will, or maybe they'll say that there's another way to do it or something. But it's I can see why they just kind of need to cut to the chase in the show. But that is definitely a change.
Also, just for the sake of visual presentation, it's cooler to have Moraine do big magic thing, and then there's a weird glowy door rather than like
here's a leaf.
Yeah.
Yep. Although the leaf, like, I think flutters in the wind and shit, or like the whole door comes alive when they do it. It was visually cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, it does make a lot of sense because it's Ogier constructed, so they wouldn't be able to use it. Because Ogier, no channeling.
No channeling. But it would be very cool. We don't have a section for this, but I had the thought when Maureen is talking to, like, what I assume is the oh God, what do they call it? The seat or something, like the head of the Blue Aja?
Yeah, I know the Greens have a special name. They call like the captain
Battle Master. Oh yeah.
Yeah, Captain Commander or something.
Yeah. Well, anyways, when she's talking to Scottish Lady in the baths.
Scottish Lady.
When I first saw Scottish Lady and again in the baths, I was like, is the show going to go so far as to address trans issues in this gender divided world and magic divided world? Because she struck me as kind of trans. And I'm like, what does that mean? Because, like, okay, so male channelers,
you're blowing my goddamn mind
I'm just
here.
gonna hunt you across the world. But if you identify as female, can you then access the female version of the source and avoid the taint, or are you still channeling the male source? It is such an interesting place that Jordan obviously never goes. But the show, being like a product of the 2020s, I feel like could go there.
They could go there
very easily. It would be very interesting to look into it and reimagine the Wheel of Time setting.
Yeah, that would...
It's a gender thing that's so real and just was, under the rug in the 90s.
Yeah, that would be fascinating. And I almost wonder, if they do make one of the girls the Dragon Reborn.
Interesting.
Would there be it's a reincarnation thing rather than a trans thing, but would the girls from, if in a past life they were the dragon, who's usually male, be able to do male channeling as well as the female channeling they're able to do now?
Right, yeah. It's interesting, because there is the other bullshit channeling that, Sanderson makes them able to do.
Yeah.
In Gathering Storm.
Yeah, hopefully we don't get into that for a while, because that is not one of the parts of the books I like.
Agreed.
And that's enough said about that.
Yeah, Background of Time that they did well and quickly is just they've been so good about just giving us one Aja at a time. And this episode was they confirmed that blues are the spies and that yellows are the healers.
Yellows are the healers.
And it's just
and the whites are just there.
The whites do not need to be mentioned because they are ineffectual.
They are ineffectual, and you can forget they exist for entire books at a time. And maybe one white sister will show up, and you'll be like, "Oh, right,
she's logical, I guess."
The whites exist, and then she recedes back into the background.
Yes, they are very much the background of time.
They are literally the background.
They are the background of Ajas.
They are. They're the white bread of Valon.
Okay, nice. They're the vanilla.
Yep. I like vanilla. But,
predictions?
I did have one more thing I wanted to bring up. Logain mentioned his army. Where's Logain's army? What happened to Logain's army?
Okay, you wanted to bring up your resentment.
I know! I want to bring up... There's 2 armies that have just vanished!
Armies just disappear in the TV series sometimes. It's an unavoidable cost of...
It's stupid! Do something with that! Come on!
Okay, now that you've aired your grievances...
Yes.
Predictions for next time. I am calling their bluff on Matt not joining them. I cannot see where the fuck they would go with him being stuck in Valon, other than that he gets the knife, but I don't see how they're going to connect in the end, because he's not going to travel the waves, so he's not going to be able to get to the eye of the world in time for the rest of this shit. I don't think that they would split apart their plot lines after just having brought them together. This is the first time since episode 1 that all 5 have been together.
True.
I think that this is a bullshit, who is behind the door and turn the page, next chapter. Oh, it was just my friend. And then, on with the story.
Do you really think they just Last Jedi us?
I don't. I feel like they do have more integrity than that. I just, can't imagine where they're going with Matt not getting in.
See, my prediction is they are going to leave Matt outside the door. And I think that has to happen. He has to get the knife again because of his stuff. We have a hint of stuff from about every main character, except from Rand, who just sucks.
Okay.
And Matt's...
that's suspicious.
Right? Isn't it though?
Sucks.
Anyways, Matt has a lot more stuff with that knife and kind of the fallout from it in the books, from what I remember.
Yeah,
so
totally
I
does.
think he has to relapse on the evil magic drug that is the knife.
Yeah, I mean, they're clear to say, if he touches again, it might be all done. And I love the line about how it's feeding on the darkness in him.
Yes.
That's cool, for sure.
Which is cool.
Yeah, okay. I just don't think... I think that they're going to end the season then without those 2 reconnecting. I can't see how they're going to get back together and finding a resolution to Matt's story. I think that he's just going to become seed for season 2 that doesn't really resolve here, is not in the last battle, etc.
Yeah, perhaps. And there's a lot of... Matt is often kind of just doing his own thing in a lot of the books. Matt is just kind of off having the Matt show.
Band of the Red Hand.
All that stuff.
Yep.
Sleeping with that one noble lady.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, multiple noble ladies, actually, come to think of it.
He knocks down the noble ladies.
He really does. But
all 3 of the boys do.
Yeah.
But most of them one at a time.
Most of them one at a time, yes.
God, it sounds so much spicier than it is when we talk about it like this.
It really does. It really does.
When you summarize 15,000 pages, if it takes 100 pages to get to any kind of sex stuff.
Yeah,
and the series is holding true to it because apparently we got the nudity. At like 6 episodes in, there was a bath scene, and in the background there was some boobs.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was a fade to black with the ladies.
There was very much a fade to black, and then they were wearing different clothes. I'm like, wait, you banged and then you put on these weird clothes instead of your other clothes?
I guess. Whatever.
This is like our post-bang clothes right here.
I think that Matt is not going to be inside the ways, and we are going to get nothing from him next episode.
Yeah,
but episode after, Matt will be like, it'll like show him watching the door close, and he's like, all right, and then he goes off to do Matt things.
I could see him actually being like the point of view character to show us what's going down with important shit that's happening in Valon.
Oh,
like he gets drawn back into it because you got to go back to the tower to get the knife, and maybe we'll see like some plot forces against Swan or something, or
because there was mention of like Leandrin having like a faction in the White Tower, like to maybe become the Amerlin seat.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where they go with it. Again, they're like departing from the book's plot, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
I have a prediction that I don't think is exactly for next time, but I do think they're going to use Moraine's oath against her somehow. Like, her and Swan are going to have a falling out, and Swan's going to say, like, you have to return. And she's going to have to do it because of the oath rod. I think that it didn't feel like much of a cost here, but I do think they're going to use it to be a real cost later on. Like, it's going to fuck shit up.
Or what if, because, they've shown they can depart from the books, what if we get Matt as our POV character, as he's going to get back the knife, and while he's doing that, he manages to like just pull a total Forrest Gump and witness the deposing of Swan.
Okay.
And then they attempt to use the oath.
The name which shall not be mentioned that weaves the pattern around him.
Yeah. So it would be on brand.
Taviran.
Yes. God, Taviran.
Taviran.
But after, maybe Leandrin becomes the new seat, and she's like, all right, now I will call Moraine back because, part of, like, swearing to Swan was part of when Moraine started to drop her voice. And, Swan said, you will swear to the Amerlin seat. So they might think, like, oh, well, she's sworn to the Amerlin seat, and the Amerlin seat's now me.
Okay.
It's time to call her back with her silly village people, and it doesn't work.
And then, you know what would happen? This is a little bit of spoilers for y'all, but they would think she's Black Aja.
Ooh!
Woo, that could get spicy. Hot damn. Okay. I just mentioned there's a thing called Black Aja.
We mentioned it before.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, so we've gone a little longer than usual. Let's hit some quick other wheels.
Sure.
And get on to the Watchalong of Time episode 7.
Yes.
So other wheels for me, I think I mentioned it last time. Did I mention a ridiculous, future Chinese Asian inspired fantasy I was reading?
Yes, but I don't remember if that was during the after show or when we had turned the mics off.
Well, anyway, I jumped into a deep dark hole of, well, not dark, but of Asian inspired fantasy written by female Asian authors. Because after the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee, I just needed more. And I found Iron Widow by Jiran J. Zhao, and it's fucking cool. So that's my other wheel's turn. I don't know that, other than there being really strong gender divisions, I don't know that it's that Wheel of Time-esque, but it's a lot of fun. And a very good bounce back relationship after the mourning that is being done with amazing saga like the Greenbone Saga.
Fair. My other wheel's turn is the newest expansion to Final Fantasy XIV, which is an MMO. You've at least heard of World of Warcraft. That's what MMOs are.
Right.
Called Endwalker. And Final Fantasy XIV is unique in that it has a story, and it's actually a very good one. This one pulls together background lore and story from almost every Final Fantasy that's been released. Wow. And the 12 years the game has been running across multiple expansions, multiple writers, and ties it all together into such a way where it almost feels like the game should be over, Like,
damn.
you know, this show does not hit me too much with the tears, but playing through Endwalker got me at least like 5 times crying, because it's like, oh god, that is paying off from so long ago.
The Weep Along of Final Fantasy.
Yeah, the Weep Along of Final Fantasy. So it has a lot of... It gets to a very like cosmic scope and big lore, and if you like those things, it's also just a really good game. Also free to play through the first expansion to level 60, which has become a meme. It's a cool game.
Okay, now that we're getting funding from Squaresoft.
Square Enix now.
Oh, excuse me. This has been the Aftershow of Time. I hope that you enjoyed us geeking out on this episode. There was lots to say.
So much to say. Such a great episode.
If you're listening to the podcast, we reference the Watchalong of Time, and that is a thing that we do, but the episodes are so long that they're available only on YouTube, in audio only. But you can hop over to Watchalong of Time on YouTube.
We also have us here, the Aftershow, over there, if you'd rather just see a podcast in video form.
Yeah.
Even though there's no real video, we just have a logo. But
you can just see a podcast.
Our voices are still there.
Our beautiful, beautiful voices.
Yes, such as they are.
There is a link to the YouTube channel in the show notes, so you can find it with a simple click if you'd like to hear me actually weeping, although I'm generally pretty quiet about it. But I did note that
I don't even realize it half the time.
Yeah, I know. I'm a quiet weeper. Ugly but quiet. One of my strengths.
We have kept this going quite long enough, and this is not an ending, but it is an ending.
Yeah, something like that. Until next time.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes.